The billionaire froze mid-bite, his spoon clinking against fine china. The young waitress's words cut through the quiet room. "My mother has a ring just like yours." His heart stopped. That was impossible. That ring was one of a kind, and it belonged to the woman he lost 22 years ago. As he looked up, really looked at her, the world seemed to disappear. The same eyes, the same quiet smile. Could it be? His daughter? In that single moment, everything he thought he'd buried, love, regret, and truth, came rushing back. And what started as an ordinary dinner was about to rewrite his entire life. The city glimmered like a jewel that night, its lights reflecting off the glass walls of La Belle Étoile, the most expensive restaurant in town. The air inside was hushed, thick with perfume, power, and whispered deals. Every guest knew who sat at table 7, Alexander Graves, the billionaire who built an empire from dust and shattered hearts alike. He was a man known for his icy control, the kind of person who never flinched, never smiled, and never looked back. Yet that night, fate had decided to play its cruelest trick. His dinner arrived, served by a young waitress named Lena. She couldn't have been more than 21. Soft-spoken, with eyes that carried both innocence and exhaustion. Her uniform was neatly pressed, but her hands trembled slightly as she balanced the tray. She was working 2 jobs to pay her mother's hospital bills, but no one in that glittering room cared, except for one strange moment. Alexander did. As she leaned forward to pour his drink, her gaze caught the glint of gold on his hand. The ring, a rare antique with an emerald stone, shimmered under the chandelier light. Lena froze, her voice barely a whisper. "My mother has a ring just like yours." Alexander's fork stopped mid-air. His head lifted slowly, eyes narrowing. The air around them seemed to still. "What did you say?" he asked, his tone sharp enough to slice through the tension. Lena blinked, startled by his reaction. "Oh, I just meant it looks similar. My mom said it's the only thing she kept from her younger years. She never takes it off." Alexander's gaze fell to the ring on his finger, the same design, the same carving on the inner band. But that couldn't be. That ring was one of a pair custom-made, created for only 2 people in the world. Himself and the woman he once loved. His pulse began to pound in his ears. A storm of memories hit him, a woman's laughter, a promise under the stars, a goodbye that never made sense. He stared at Lena again. Really stared. The shape of her face, the faint dimple when she smiled nervously. It all felt painfully familiar. And then a thought struck him like lightning. No, it couldn't be. But what if it was? Alexander couldn't pull his eyes away from the waitress. His mind was spinning, his heart pounding in a rhythm he hadn't felt in decades. That ring, her ring, had vanished 22 years ago, along with the only woman who had ever truly known him. He cleared his throat, forcing his voice to sound calm. "What's your mother's name?" he asked, his tone deceptively casual. Lena hesitated, as if unsure whether she'd said something wrong. "Claire," she replied softly. "Claire Winters." The name hit him like a physical blow. The glass in his hand trembled slightly before he set it down. Claire Winters. He whispered it in his mind as if saying it would bring her back from memory into flesh and blood. 2 decades ago, Claire was the love that money couldn't buy, and his father couldn't control. She was kind, brilliant, full of light. Everything Alexander's cold corporate world was not. When he gave her that emerald ring, he'd promised, "No matter where I go, I'll come back for you." But when he did, she was gone. No letters, no trace. His father told him she'd left for someone wealthier, and in his bitterness, he believed it. Until now. Now this young waitress, with Claire's gentle eyes and nervous laugh, had appeared before him, wearing fate around her finger. "Do you still live with your mother?" he asked carefully, leaning forward. Lena nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. Yeah, it's just the two of us. She's been sick lately, but she's strong. Stronger than anyone I know. Her voice carried quiet pride, and it shattered something inside him. He had missed everything, her childhood, her laughter, her struggles. He glanced again at the ring glinting on his hand, and a cold sweat ran down his back. He suddenly realized why he couldn't stop staring at her. The resemblance wasn't coincidence. It was blood. Your father, he asked slowly, barely breathing. Do you know him? Lena hesitated, then shook her head. No, Mom said he wasn't ready for a family. I never even saw a picture. Alexander's chest tightened. For years, he'd built empires, broken rivals, conquered everything, yet lost the only thing that mattered most. And now, she was standing right in front of him, calling him Sir. Alexander sat in silence long after Lena walked away to serve another table. The restaurant noise faded into a dull hum. The clinking glasses, the soft piano music, the quiet laughter of the wealthy all felt distant and meaningless. He wasn't a man easily shaken, but tonight his composure cracked like thin glass. Claire Winters. The name wouldn't stop echoing in his mind. He leaned back, pretending to check his phone, but his fingers trembled as he opened a browser. He typed the name with quiet desperation. Claire Winters. Maple City. The search results loaded slowly, each second dragging like an hour. And then, there she was, a local art teacher, known for her kindness and her charity work. But the next line made his breath hitch, currently hospitalized for a severe heart condition. He scrolled further. There was a crowdfunding page posted by her daughter. Help my mom get treatment from Lena Winters. His heart stopped. His hand tightened around his phone. It was all true. Every word that waitress said. True. For a long moment, Alexander couldn't breathe. He, a man worth billions, had spent years searching for purpose in power and numbers, while the woman he once loved had been living in quiet struggle just miles away. He looked up, and there she was again, Lena, smiling faintly as she handed menus to another table. Her eyes held that same warmth, the same soul that Claire once carried. He wanted to stand up right there, take her by the hand, and tell her everything, that she wasn't just some waitress, that she was his daughter. But fear held him still. What if she hated him for not being there? What if Claire had told her lies to protect her from the truth? He swallowed hard. He couldn't risk destroying the fragile peace she had. So instead, he took a breath, grabbed his check, and quietly left the restaurant, but not before slipping his card inside the bill folder. The next morning, his driver pulled up outside a small, worn house on Maple Street. The address from the crowdfunding page. As Alexander stepped out, a single thought pulsed in his mind like a drumbeat. If she's really mine, I'll never lose her again. The air outside the small house on Maple Street felt heavier than usual, thick with memories and the weight of what-ifs. Alexander stood there for a long moment, staring at the cracked front steps and the peeling white paint. It was worlds apart from the marble halls and glass towers he lived in. His chest tightened. This was where she'd been all along. He finally raised a hand and knocked. The door creaked open after a moment, and there she was, Claire. Time had changed her, but only on the outside. Her hair, once deep chestnut, was now streaked with silver. There were faint lines around her eyes, yet her gaze still held that same softness, the same light that once anchored his restless soul. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The years between them seemed to fold into that single breath. Then her hand flew to her mouth. "Alexander!" she whispered, her voice trembling. He took a hesitant step forward, words catching in his throat. "Claire, after all these years," tears welled in her eyes. "Why now?" she asked weakly. "Why after 22 years?" His voice cracked. Because I didn't know, Claire. My father, he told me you left, that you didn't want me, that you chose someone else. Claire's expression darkened, her jaw tightening. That's not true. He came to me, Alexander. He told me you were engaged to the daughter of some investor. He said your family would destroy me if I didn't disappear. Alexander's hands clenched into fists, anger and regret colliding like thunder in his chest. He lied to both of us, he whispered, and I believed him. For a long moment, the silence between them was thick with heartbreak. The years of loneliness, the missed birthdays, the endless nights of wondering, all of it pressed into the space between their trembling breaths. Then, from the hallway, a voice broke the stillness. "Mom? Who is it?" Lena appeared, holding a small grocery bag. When she saw Alexander standing there, her smile faded. Her mother's tears told her everything before a word was spoken. Claire turned to her daughter, voice shaking. "Lena, this is Alexander Graves." Lena's brow furrowed. "Wait, the billionaire?" Claire nodded slowly, her voice barely audible. "Yes, and he's also your father." The bag fell from Lena's hands, the sound echoing through the small, quiet room. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Lena stood frozen, her eyes darting between her mother and the man who now looked both powerful and painfully human. Her voice broke the silence. "You're saying, he's my father?" Claire nodded slowly, tears glistening in her tired eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. The man I told you about, the one I loved long ago. It's him." Lena's throat tightened. She took a step back, her mind swirling with confusion, anger, and disbelief. "You knew about me all these years?" She whispered to Alexander. "You knew, and you never came?" Alexander shook his head quickly, his voice trembling for perhaps the first time in decades. "No, Lena, I swear I didn't know. Your mother disappeared. I thought she left me. My father told me she wanted nothing to do with me. I believed him." Lena's lip quivered, but she saw something in his eyes, guilt, sorrow, truth. Claire reached out and took Alexander's hand, her own trembling. "He's telling the truth, darling. He didn't know. We were both lied to." For a long moment, none of them spoke. The years of separation, 2 decades of lost birthdays, unspoken words, and aching loneliness hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Then Lena slowly stepped forward. Her eyes softened, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. "You're here now," she whispered. "That's what matters." Alexander exhaled shakily and took her hand. The same hand that once held a tray in a restaurant, now holding his heart. "I missed your whole life," he said quietly. "Your first steps, your first words. I can't get those years back. But if you'll let me, I'll make sure the next ones are different." Claire smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. "We don't need your money, Alexander. We just need you." He nodded, tears finally spilling down his face. "Then you'll have me, both of you. Always." As the 3 of them sat together for the first time in 22 years, something unspoken filled the room, not just forgiveness, but peace. Outside, the evening sun broke through the clouds, bathing the small house in gold. For once, the billionaire wasn't chasing deals, empires, or power. He had found something rarer, something money could never buy. He had found home.